Fog rolls in thick and unrelenting over the jagged rocks of Alcatraz Island, a forsaken bastion perched in the chilly embrace of the San Francisco Bay during the grim years of the 1930s. Lightning cracks the sky, illuminating the massive concrete walls scarred by decades of despair and isolation. Rain hammers down in sheets, turning the ground into a slick mire of mud and blood. This Alcatraz exists not in the mortal world, but in a warped purgatory, a hellish dimension where the boundaries between life and death blur into eternal torment. Lava bubbles up through fissures in the prison floors, casting an infernal glow that dances with shadows. The once sterile showers now run red with unending streams of blood, and the air hums with a malevolent energy that shifts the scene from stark monochrome to vivid, crimson-tinged horror. In the distance, the Golden Gate Bridge twists into a grotesque parody of itself, a bridge to nowhere, suspended in a stormy void. Time folds upon itself here, trapping souls in a relentless cycle of failure and violence, where undead prisoners and guards rise with glowing red eyes, driven by some demonic force. The island pulses with otherworldly traps and mechanisms, from electrified gates to special portals, all designed to prolong the suffering of those condemned to relive their darkest deeds amid endless waves of the ravenous dead. This is Mob of the Dead. In today's video, I want to take a look back at the full story of Mob of the Dead, and take some time to highlight new secrets found in the leaked developer documentation to help us understand it more than ever. Mob of the Dead's story is one of, if not the best standalone map in Zombies history, and some of the content that was cut for time here helps expand it even further. Plus, a few different changes that drastically changed how the Easter egg would have played out. All that and more in this video. Stay tuned. One of the first things we learn is that Mob of the Dead was imagined including Native American influences woven into its fabric, such as chalk drawings of symbols scattered throughout the map that, in the afterlife state, would glow brightly to unveil hidden portals leading to new areas. It seems that this ultimately resulted in the afterlife symbol, a symbol on our screen that tracks how many times we can go into afterlife, but also is drawn on the wall in places we need to use this new ghostly ability. But before we go too far into the mechanics of afterlife, let's take a step back to regular life, and how 4 men had theirs ended. At the head of this nightmarish saga stand 4 hardened mobsters, products of the Prohibition-era's underworld, each forged in the fires of crime and betrayal. Salvador Sal DeLuca emerges as the ruthless kingpin, a man who clawed his way to power through bootlegging alcohol in defiance of the law, overseeing networks of prostitution rings and underground gambling dens that span cities. His hands drip with the blood of rivals eliminated in brutal turf wars, and his empire crumbled under the weight of federal indictments for multiple murders, racketeering, and extortion, landing him a life sentence on the rock with no hope of parole. Michael Finn O'Leary operates as the sly gambler and fixer, a silver-tongued operator who rigged horse races and manipulated card games to amass fortunes, only to be convicted of fraud, assault, and conspiracy after a botched deal exposed his web of deceit. Billy Handsome serves as the Icy Assassin, a hitman renowned for his unflinching precision with a blade or gun, responsible for a trail of executions that silenced witnesses and enemies alike during gang conflicts, earning him convictions for first-degree murder and organized crime ties. Albert Weasel Arlington acts as the cunning con artist and inventor, a mastermind behind elaborate scams involving forgery, grand theft, and confidence games that swindled the wealthy. His inventive mind also birthed wild schemes, but his betrayals sealed his fate with charges of fraud and accessory to murder. These men, once uneasy allies in the shadows of organized crime, find themselves bound together in Alcatraz, their shared desperation forging a fragile pact to escape the unescapable prison. Their path to this infernal Alcatraz begins in the mortal realm, amid the chaos of a 1933 prison riot that masks their audacious escape plot. Weasel, ever the schemer, devises a foolproof plan to construct a makeshift aircraft from scavenged parts hidden across the island. Dubbing it Icarus in a nod to mythic ambition, he persuades Sal, Finn, and Billy to join him, promising freedom from their life sentences through a daring fight to the roof. Tensions simmer as prison hardships erode their trust. Arguments erupt over the plan's feasibility, and Weasel's secret dealings come to light. He had betrayed them, briefly, to the warden, Brutus, in a moment of fear, only to rejoin the group. Enraged by this treachery and the plan's mounting failures, the trio fabricates weapons from prison scraps, a jagged shiv, a crude club, anything to exact revenge. On the stormy night of December 31st, 1933, they lure Weasel to the roof under false pretenses, ambushing him in the pouring rain. Blows rain down as thunder drowns his cries, leaving him to bleed out on the cold concrete, his body twitching in the final throes of life. For this heinous act, Sal, Finn, and Billy face swift justice, sentenced to death by electric chair. On January 19, 1934, the switches flip, currents surge through their bodies, and darkness claims them. Yet death offers no release. A dark demonic force pulls them into a purgatorial loop, resurrecting them in a zombie-infested Alcatraz to relive the outbreak and their sins eternally, with Brutus now a demonic enforcer overseeing their torment. The tale begins again on that fateful night at 9:30 p.m. As lights dim in the cell blocks and shadows creep longer. Guard Stanley Ferguson makes his rounds, his boots echoing on the grated floors. Sal engages him in casual banter about family ties, drawing him near with talk of loved ones. Finn slips a fabricated tip on a horse race, his voice smooth as silk to hold the guard's attention. Billy complains bitterly about the incessant noise of the prison, his gruff tone masking deeper malice. Weasel feigns excruciating pain, clutching his side to lure Ferguson closer to the bars. In a blur of motion, Weasel strikes, plunging a hidden shiv into the guard's neck, blood spraying as keys clatter to the floor. The group seizes the moment, releasing themselves from their cages and arming themselves with pilfered revolvers from the warden's concealed stash before confirming the locations of plane parts stashed in the laundry room. Laughter echoes briefly as they toast to impeding liberty, but triumph shatters when Ferguson's corpse jerks unnaturally, his eyes igniting with a hellish red glow as he rises, the harbinger of a zombie horde. Cells burst open, undead inmates and guards shambling forth with guttural moans, their flesh rotting and jaws snapping. The prison warps before their eyes, colors bleeding into reality as chaos erupts, the mobsters firing desperately to carve a path through the swarm. Overwhelmed in the frenzy, Weasel falls first to the clawing masses during their fight. Finn pinned against a blood-smeared wall and torn apart, Billy abandoned to the horde's relentless advance, and Sal barricading himself in vain as the undead breaches defenses. Their deaths still bind them to this purgatorial Alcatraz, a domain where they awaken time and again, forced to relive the outbreak in a bid for atonement or true escape. Awakening in the ethereal haze of afterlife mode, a ghostly limbo where their forms shimmer with blue energy, the mobsters phase through barred walls marked by spectral symbols and find their own bodies on the ground, returning to them and standing up once more. In contrast to the released version, where players immediately embody these specific mobsters from the start, leaked documents outline a cut character selection system that would have begun with all players in the afterlife state, gazing upon the 4 downed characters on the ground with revive icons hovering above them, allowing players to choose which mobster to possess and revive, adding a layer of personalization and spectral entry into the game that never quite made it into the final product. Brutus, the hulking demonic warden clad in police armor, crashes into the fray, his massive club smashing utilities like perk machines and workbenches, bellowing demands for payment to restore them, his voice a gravelly roar echoing through the halls. He commands the zombies around the prison and sends them to attack the mobsters time and again. If caught and killed, the mobsters would once again return to the afterlife mode, starting the process all over again. These leaked developer notes highlight a cut vision for these afterlife zombies, where they would appear visually distinct with models reflecting their original human forms bathed in a white heavenly glow, or at minimum a special shader to achieve an ethereal effect. And instead of standard aggressive grunts, they would whisper pleas from their former selves, like, kill me, while pursuing players, adding a haunting psychological layer to the encounters that differs from the uniform relentless undead in the released map. Scattered across the island from docks to infirmary, they gather parts for buildables, crafting the zombie shield from debris in the cafeteria to bash foes aside, and the acid gat kit near the electric cherry perk to transform the blundergat shotgun into an explosive projectile-spewing beast. The blundergat itself, a blunderbuss Gatling hybrid from the Civil War, saved in a collection by the Warden of Alcatraz, fires devastating blasts, upgradable to the Sweeper for greater carnage, or the Vitriolic Withering for attracting and dissolving undead clusters. They hurl the Hell's Retriever, a glowing tomahawk earned by feeding 6 zombies each to 3 snarling Cerberus heads in the cell block, infirmary, and docks, its blade piercing multiple foes before boomeranging back. Now, according to leaked documents, this iconic weapon originally belonged to Geronimo, the Native American shaman and historical prisoner of Alcatraz during the Indian Wars, who used the tomahawk to banish evil spirits and later placed it on the island to suppress an ancient curse, tying into the broader Native American themes that were planned but toned down in the final version, where the tool's origins remain unexplained beyond its hellish retrieval mechanics and clearly Native American-inspired appearance. One particularly intriguing element from the developer docs involves the mysterious Jumpscare on the roof, where players peering through the sniper scope at fireworks over the distant city would trigger a quick flash of a scary face, labeled under "What the hell" in the documentation, resulting long-standing fan debates about the identity of the face, as the documents indicate it was merely a generic scary face, rather than a recognizable or lore-important figure, despite some fans thinking it was Nero or Russman. Assembling Icarus on the roof from 5 parts unlocked by the Warden's Key, they refuel with gas cans and launch into the tempestuous skies, engines sputtering against the wind as lightning illuminates the twisted bridge ahead. Crashing onto the Golden Gate, they access the Pack-a-Punch machine to enhance weapons, then strap into electric chairs for a jolting return to the starting room and afterlife, perpetuating the cycle. However, leaked plans unveil a drastically different gameplay loop that omitted the bridge gameplay entirely, instead directing the crashing plane to a no-man's land area featuring only the Pack-a-Punch machine and a teleporter, which players would activate to arrive in an enclosed execution room with no doors, just windows for zombie entry, lined with 4 connected electric chairs bearing the scrawled message, "No one escapes alive," on the wall, and opposite them, 4 small metal doors high up concealing afterlife portals connected by wires to the chairs. In this cut version, escape required self-electrocution in the chairs to open the portals, transitioning to afterlife and levitating through to return to the map's start, where players would possess and revive a generic inmate body infused with the mobster's persona and voice. Upon repeating the loop a second time via the plane and chairs, players would then inhabit the original mobster bodies once more, explaining the released map's requirement to visit the bridge 3 times for the main Easter egg, as this multi-body possession and execution room sequence was streamlined into the bridge shocks, removing the dual-body system and teleporter elements, while preserving the cyclical torment theme. Completing the cycle thrice by flying to the bridge and returning, they input prisoner numbers, 481 for Weasel, 101 for Finn, 386 for Sal, and 872 for Billy, into the spiral staircase terminal, triggering black and white flashes and Ferguson's narrations of the escape's collapse into violence. Audio reels and scraps from Ferguson unravel their mortal fates to them on this final trip, the failed plan, the rooftop murder and executions, while restoring fragmented memories of the betrayal. The climax surges on the Golden Gate Bridge after tales of infighting and murder. Memories flood back, Sal, Finn, and Billy turning on Weasel with accusations of his flawed scheme and betrayal, and Weasel defending himself fiercely against their assault. From here, the story can end in 2 ways. In one grim path, the trio overwhelms Weasel, executing him amid the storm as the screen fades to black with a haunting melody, dooming all to the cycle's continuation, respawning in Alcatraz with amnesia to repeat the torment forever. This outcome likely takes place many times, and anytime it does, the Black Ops 3 version of the greater cycle will play out, repeating once more in a loop. In the other resolution, Weasel prevails, slaying Sal, Finn, and Billy in a frenzy of gunfire and melee, shattering the loop. The screen fades to white as text appears saying, "The cycle is broken," and now, this single iteration of a nearly infinitely repeating cycle, things will change. When Richtofen makes his trip here, between Zetsubo no Shima and Gorod Krovi, they will appear in a different location, triggering the events of Blood of the Dead and Black Ops 4's Broken Cycle. At the end of the Easter egg, when you read "The cycle is broken," or "The cycle continues," it does not just mean Mob of the Dead, it means the entire storyline. This map went from what was often argued to be a non-canonical spin-off into a central piece of the Aether storyline. Technically, a third ending also exists. If, upon spawning in, you never touch your controller and simply wait for your initial afterlife to run out, you see a special game over screen. The camera will pan up to the moon as Samantha's lullaby plays softly, fading away. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Mob of the Dead. Let me know your thoughts on this map in the comments. Is it still as good now? Does the story stand strong alone? Or does it work much better as just one piece in the larger Aether story? Or, perhaps, is it good at both? What can we learn from Mob going forward? And check out our other videos on Zombies Cut content from the leaked developer documents in the playlist linked on screen and in the description. Thank you for watching, and thanks to all patrons and members for supporting the channel. Now I'll hand it back off to TGR.
To conclude this video, I want to shout out the fact that I finally decided to make a Patreon and Cameo account, both of which will be linked below if you want to help support the channel. On Patreon, you can sign up for the lowest tier of just $1.50 a month to get exclusive access for my Discord, where we can discuss zombies lore, trivia, or whatever you desire. A place where you lot, my community, can better connect. Your names will also appear at the end of videos thanking you. For $5.50 a month, you get all of that, and I will be doing exclusive exclusive monthly Q&As. And for $16.50 a month, you again get all of that, and I will be doing exclusive lore videos, such as unpacking niche parts of the Treyarch documents I've been breaking down on my channel that don't as much suit a main channel video. For the highest tier, only for those with the ability to and who really want to help out the channel, you get special bonuses I've yet to determine and verbal shoutouts at the end of every video. Over on Cameo, I can do funny videos reading lines from zombies, memes like how do we tell him, birthday wishes for friends or family, or whatever else you desire, practically anything. Of course, none of this is necessary, just watching and enjoying the videos helps me immensely and I greatly appreciate it. However, I think it's about time I start setting up additional revenue streams because Zombies' popularity is tumultuous and always goes through ups and downs. As I'm sure you've lately seen on the channel, viewership is down a lot. We go through big highs when new games release, but then during these drought periods, I need more income stability so I don't have to worry as much about it and I can focus more on improving the quality of the content. My highest quality videos are not always the ones that best please YouTube algorithms, so instead, this way I can produce my best work knowing I don't have to think as much about how well the content's going to perform. So if you'd like to support me on Patreon for exclusive content or would like a simple Cameo message, you can do so to further support me via the links below, but only if you can afford it and you actually want to help me. Don't feel like you are forced to, don't worry, I'll survive. It would just help relieve some of the pressure during inconsistent periods on the channel so I don't have to solely rely on AdSense revenue and still maintain the sheer quantity and quality of content that I put out. Obviously I pump out literally a boatload of content and some of these are absolutely crazy projects over hour-long videos, so it's a lot on my plate, especially when these videos don't perform particularly well. And I've not been doing many sponsorships lately to help supplement revenue either, so it would greatly help. Thank you for any generous person once again who does kindly support the channel. It means the absolute world and will really help keep this boat afloat.